Okay, we'll begin here in just a second. Hey, good morning, everyone. This is the City of Wooster Fair Housing Resources and Economics Opportunities training session. Today, we are going to be discussing about fair housing rights and also how the City of Wooster promotes fair housing.
There it is. Oops.
Okay, and sorry for the delay there. So today's presentation will be presented by Carla Jesse, our Fair Housing Officer, who is with the City of Worcester's Building Standards Division, and also myself, Jonathan Millay. I am with the City of Worcester's Economic Development Office. Specifically today, we wanted to take time to share the different resources that we do have available within the city. And these particular resources might be of help to you if you are a landlord, if you are a tenant or a homeowner, or someone who's just interested in different resources for people who might be facing challenges with housing in our community. So we thank you for taking the time to visit with us, and I hope that this information can be helpful. We'll take you through our seminar that we have here, which is also available on our website at worcesterOH.com/fair-housing. And additionally, as you'll also hear from Carla and myself, there are numerous other agencies and resources throughout our Wayne County region, as well as the state of Ohio and the federal government, who are available to help provide further information. So without further ado, I will take you through this presentation. If you can give us here just 1 second as I'm trying to work through our technology. There we go. This is back on our main program here. The purpose for having our City of Worcester Fair Housing Program is to be able to help provide tenants, landlords, and homeowners with resources to better understand their fair housing rights. You'll see here on the right side of the screen our fair housing brochure. You'll see this throughout many places in the community, including the Wayne County Library. It's something that you can also pick up online, but this is a nice little short summary of the different resources that are available to help people with their fair housing concerns. So what is fair housing? Well, in the City of Worcester, back in 1991, we passed a resolution where we said it is hereby designated to be the policy of the City of Worcester to do all the things necessary and proper to secure for all of its residents their right to equal housing opportunities, regardless of their race, color, creed, sex, religious belief, national origin, handicap, or familial status. And familial status would include non-discrimination of households with children. With regards to disabilities, landlords are generally required to provide reasonable accommodations and policies to assist persons with disabilities. Policies are also set to accommodate individuals that may have military orders. So why does fair housing matter? Laws protecting people from discrimination against race, color, national origin, religion, sex, familial status, disability, ancestry, or military status is an essential consumer protection. Such unlawful discrimination, it hurts the entire community, and that does it through limiting individual freedoms as well as access to housing and economic opportunities. Reporting illegal discrimination is not only important for protecting oneself, but also for protecting others and the community from future discrimination. Fair housing reporting and discrimination. Those that feel they are being treated unfairly should take the following steps to protect themselves. Keep a record of any meetings and phone calls with landlords, property managers, real estate agents, loan officers, or insurance agencies. Write down what happened and what was said by all participants. Save all receipts, applications, leases, buildings, cards, brochures, and other documents that were given. And also call the City of Worcester's Fair Housing Program at 330-263-5200, extension 300. And this will allow you to speak with a live person. And that would just share us here at the top, bottom of the screen here, myself talking here at the top, and then Carla Jesse, who's our Fair Housing Officer, here at the bottom. So if you're calling about a concern in city limits, we can certainly help. If you're also in the general Wayne County area, but not in the city of Worcester, we recommend contacting Wayne County, who also has a similar program. And the reason for this is so that we can best allocate resources to individuals who, some communities have different organizations that can assist than others. Their phone number, should you ever need them, is 330-287-5420. So I wanted to share a couple more details on what our fair housing program actually does. So as we stated before, fair housing is protecting individuals from discrimination so that we, as a consumer protection, have housing available for all people who want to be contributing to our community. So fair housing is the unlawful discrimination, again, of persons based on their race, color, national origin, religion, sex, familial status, disability, ancestry, which is pretty much the same thing as national origin, and most recently, military status. And when it comes to that, we do have our services where if there is a concern, you're welcome to contact us. We can provide you with information on how to maintain compliance with fair housing law. We also will help individuals take complaints, and we provide assistance when it comes to individuals who may want to advance the complaint with HUD or the Ohio Civil Rights Commission. In addition to this, we also provide educational trainings, which this is one of our trainings that we offer. These trainings we make available typically at City Hall or the Wayne County Public Library, but we also have them available by request, and we make them available to different groups, and we try to do about anywhere between 4 and 6 of these per year. We also work to help promote fair housing, and we do this through outreach. We work with being able to not only promulgate information and share our resources with brochures, but updating the website and trying to do efforts like this as well. And then lastly, we work in almost every Ohio community that works through a community development block grant program, works through what's called an analysis of impediments. Fair housing, of course, when we're faced with discrimination, there's a long history there of federal, local, and state codes that help to build discrimination into the housing system. And very fortunately, over the last 50 years, we've been working as a society to better ourselves, and those rules have gone away. And we're working to help ensure equality. But at the same time, there's still issues, and we'll talk about a couple of those here today. And we look at this by undergoing a detailed analysis of where issues occur in our economy and in our society where people are facing discrimination. And what that leads to are individuals being forced out of housing opportunities and most likely forced out of our own community. And then as a society, we lose the social capital and the economic capital that that family was wanting to bring to our community, and that does no good for anyone. So our analysis of impediments, we take a look at specific issues. There are a lot of wide-ranging issues that do fall into this category, which we'll talk about. And one of the questions that we get is how often does fair housing really how often is that an issue for us locally? We hear about that in the national news. Is it really a problem locally? And unfortunately, while great strides have been made in our region to ensure equal access to housing, discrimination remains a threat to the health, welfare, and economic future of our residents, not only in our city, but Northeastern Ohio as a whole. So we wanted to share some recent cases over the last few years, and there are several more that are still being looked at today. But here are some examples of fair housing issues. Single mothers denied housing because a landlord did not want to have children on the property. We've had such issues like that in Wooster. apartment complex owners lying to prospective tenants about the availability of apartments because of their race. That occurred over in Maslin. A landlord refusing to rent a home to a female applicant because the landlord believed it would be too much responsibility for a single woman. That unfortunately happened in our community as well. Clients struggling with a mental disability repeatedly turned away from an apartment because property managers would not make an accommodation to their policy and allow for an emotional support animal. This being despite a physician's written request and veterinarian report certifying the animal's health. So when we work through what are our issues with fair housing, it's very important to understand what people are experiencing. And you can see on the screen right now, and you can visit our website and you can pull up this study, this analysis of impediments to fair housing that we performed just in the last 12 months that takes a look at all the intricacies that make up what is needed for a fair and equal access housing market. Some of the most common issues that we ran across were violations of fair housing against individuals who were disabled. We've also fielded local allegations concerning not only disability, but also familial status, race, and sex, all of this since 2013. And the Northeastern Ohio region as a whole, and this would include places such as Lorain, Cleveland, Youngstown, all the way up to Ashtabula, averages roughly 75 substantiated fair housing violations annually. So unfortunately, in 2020, this is still an issue that we need to pay attention to. And we do so in order to help ensure a strong economy and fair access to housing for everyone who wants to be a member of our community. So let's take a look at that first issue that we have that's the most prominent in our region today, and that is ensuring fair housing for individuals with disabilities. Landlords are required to make accommodations for those with disabilities as long as the request does not pose an unreasonable burden. So an example to this might be allowing a disabled tenant to install a wheelchair ramp or other necessary equipment on their property in order to access that. Now, that infrastructure is at the tenant's own expense, and a lot of times they'll also be required to restore the property back to its original condition, but the landlord's policies generally should accommodate that. An accommodation on the landlord's policy regarding pets for someone who has an emotional support animal. So a lot of landlords charge pet rent or have no pet policies, which is fine. But when it comes to a documented case where you have an individual with an emotional support animal, that's different. An emotional support animal is an animal that is there to assist an individual with a specific disability that may not be readily apparent when just meeting the person individually. And so there is a responsibility on the landlord to make an accommodation to their policy in order to allow that individual to have access to housing with their ESA. Now, landlords may request documentation in certain cases, such as information regarding the key information that they would need is possibly a statement from a physician stating that they are treating the individual for a disability. They don't have to and should not be listing what that specific disability is because of HIPAA, but that's certainly fine that there would be a physician statement. There's kind of a gray area, an undecided area in the law, but some landlords will ask to make sure that the vets or the veterinarians have taken care of an animal and that it's up to date on its shots and it's being cared for. So those are all things to expect if you're in a situation where there might be an ESA involved in either a rental that you're providing or you are seeking to rent a place with an ESA. Basically, that accommodation means that we're looking that there would not be a pet rent fee or there would not be a prohibition against having the ESA there. Another key issue that we've run into is establishment of disabled, or I should say accessible parking spaces, which would provide easy access into a dwelling. That's more common in an apartment complex. So ensuring fair housing disabilities, here's a recent local case. A local university did not grant reasonable request for an assistance animal in 2014. That university has since changed its policies, but this, this particular case, it was the United States versus Kent State University, and in the complaint it alleged that the university failed to follow the Fair Housing Act by refusing to grant a reasonable request and accommodation for its university housing for a student and her husband who lived there to live with an assistance animal that ameliorated the effects of her disability. The consent decree provided for a $130,000 payment to the students and the local fair housing organizations that were involved in the case, and a $15,000 payment to the United States, and injunctive relief, which required the entity work through its policy. And since then, they have worked through developing a program for regular training and reporting. That case was referred to the department after HUD received a complaint, conducted an investigation, and issued a charge of discrimination. And a lot of times these complaints start at a local level, at an office such as ours, or one of our fair housing partners. Most often there's always going to be an effort, hopefully among a tenant, to resolve that issue before it would escalate. But unfortunately, unfortunately, we do run into situations where there are not the abilities for organizations to make the corrections that need to be done, and then that's when these situations start involving HUD. And we'll see that in some of these other examples. A similar one, a builder was challenged by HUD after building new housing without proper accommodations for people with disabilities. So in new construction in particular, there are requirements for ensuring accessibility features in new construction. And in this particular case, United States versus Noble Homes, the standards of construction were not followed for that. And so again, this was an issue that ultimately escalated, and it led to having to have federal involvement. And in this case, the case ended with a consent decree where the defendants, the builders who are no longer involved in that business, would pay $100,000 into a fund to help make the repairs that had not been made in the first place, and a $40,000 civil penalty. In additional, they paid further $10,000 to two fair housing organizations that had expended time and resources in order to bring that case forward. Another concern that we have is, or I should say, another concern that we see a lot of is familial status. That developed as the most second common concern in our local area. The Wooster Fair Housing Program, specifically, we've received concerns from prospective residents and existing residents about encountering landlords who were resistant to rent to them because they had children. So young families with children in particular tend to have less in terms of financial resources than older families whose incomes have naturally risen over time and with advanced experience. And so these particular families are more likely to be renting. But in this case, not only is denial of housing on the basis of children unlawful, and unlawful not only from fair housing, but as a consumer practice, it hurts our families that will power our future economy. And it also hurts them at a time when they're most vulnerable. So as a city, state, nation, we have decided as a society that this type of discrimination has no place in any community seeking to be free, economically healthy, and vibrant. And as a result, this is one of the things that we track. So here's an example of how fair housing works with familial status. In Portage County, we had a landlord who had a policy of not renting upper floor apartments to families with children. The idea being that, well, we didn't want to have noise created upstairs, and children can be noisy, is their thinking. When the landlord informed the mother, who met all other qualifications, that she could not rent the only apartment that was available at the complex because she had young children, the mother decided to speak up. And this brought us ultimately the case of United States versus Testa Family Enterprises. It started in 2010. It was a 26-unit apartment complex. There was one apartment available on the second floor, and the mother with a 4-year-old son and a 10-month-old daughter was simply denied the ability to rent. It was there, it was ready to be rented, but the landlord did not want to have young children on the premises if they were going to be on the second floor, only the first floor. So ultimately, the defendants had to pay $33,350 to the complainants, $16,650 to the Fair Housing Advocates Association, and $10,000 as a civil penalty. And there was also an education requirement as well, with having to attend fair housing training. Ensuring fair housing, race, and national origin. Race was the third most common substantiated complaint discovered in our region's analysis of impediments to fair housing. This also included Wayne, Stark, Summit, and Portage counties. In 2014, the U.S. Department of Justice reached an $850,000 settlement over racial and familial status discrimination with owners of Thackeray Ledges, Wales Ridges, and Yorkshire apartment complexes. These are larger apartment complex communities, and these were based in Massillon. The lawsuit stemmed from complaints made by the tenants as well as the firm's own property managers. It was determined that tenants and prospective renters were treated differently based solely on their race, which included lying about whether or not apartments were available and treating existing tenants differently. In addition to the cash settlement, the landlord agreed to be barred from directly managing the apartments in the future. And today, there's an independent property management firm that handles that to ensure that those three communities are have equal access to housing. So this, again, is a very short drive from where we live and work here in Worcester. So unfortunately, it's very real, and it's something that we need to be paying attention to. And really, again, the reasons for this is when a landlord takes it upon themselves to unlawfully shut a family out of a housing opportunity, they are actively working to shut out opportunities for our greater Worcester community, which could otherwise benefit from all of the civic engagement and economic benefits that the denied family would have been able to offer. So great strides have been made in ensuring fair housing, but additional awareness and efforts are needed. And that's part of the reason why we're here today. So despite the fact that the federal government ended redlining housing discrimination, and that was also local and state, and other discriminatory practices were made illegal over half a century ago, local cases within our region, like many others, still face challenges in ensuring equal access to fair housing for its existing and future residents. So what do we have in our community as far as resources go? With that, we do have the Fair Housing Program where we're talking about today, where you can call and talk to someone to get some live information. And again, whether you are a landlord looking to figure out how to comply with a certain issue with fair housing, or you're a tenant. I do want to stress we are not attorneys, and we don't dispense legal advice, but what we can do is share information, and we're always available to talk if there are questions. But some other resources available in our region include the Regional Ohio Civil Rights Commission with their office in Akron, the COHIO, which is the Coalition on Homelessness in Ohio. They manage a tenant rent information line through a taxpayer-supported program. They have very great resources. Their number is 888-485-79999, which you can see here online. And then regionally, we have the Community Legal Aid group, which is a volunteer nonprofit group of attorneys who do provide services to individuals who are low to moderate income or who may not have otherwise access to an attorney. And they spend a lot of time helping to support a lot of families that are trying to navigate these types of issues. And then also locally in our own offices, there's the Wooster Building Standards Planning Division. We take a look at property maintenance concerns and safety concerns that might be an issue for ensuring safe housing. While that's a little bit different and more on the landlord-tenant side, it is something that our community cares very much about, and we take efforts to ensure that housing is safe for all of our residents. And on that note, so property maintenance violations are usually, again, separate issues. In the city of Worcester, landlords, homeowners are required to ensure that properties do meet certain safety codes. And that would include making sure that we have the home in working condition, safe condition. We don't have water infiltrating from the roof. Broken windows, lack of heating, significantly leaking rooftops. These are serious issues that do require immediate repair. And in our 2019 Fair Housing Survey, this was a key concern. Property owners, in this instance, when there is a complaint made, they will typically receive a citation via mail should the city property maintenance inspector visit and find a significant property maintenance concern that requires repair. So that being said, we do encourage tenants who are experiencing unsafe living environments to contact the city property maintenance inspector. The number's up here on the screen, 330-263-5200, extension 362. However, understanding that they're wanting to help tenants maintain relationships with landlords, we do ask that tenants first write a letter to their landlord requesting the repair. It's very important that it's actually a letter, and that a copy of that is retained by both the tenant and the landlord. That becomes an official document, and if the repair isn't made in the future, it'll be very helpful to have that letter. It's a little bit more difficult to prove that complaints were made via text or even verbally. And even if you do have a verbal conversation, it's good to follow up in some form of writing that can be acknowledged. Some emergency housing resources in our community include the Salvation Army, which offers a 24/7 access to emergency shelter at its 437 South Market Street, Worcester location. You see their information up above. The Wayne Metropolitan Housing Authority at 330-264-2727, which provides a lot of resources for individuals in need who need help securing housing. Community Action Wayne Medina provides a lot of services to assist low-income families who might be struggling with heating issues and other financial issues in order to retain their existing housing. And then lastly, Habitat for Humanity, which works to help empower people through bringing them into home ownership. So these are great resources to just keep in mind if you ever run into someone who is facing a situation. These are entities that have made a tremendous impact in our community, and that's not saying enough. We also want to chat briefly about some economic opportunities, and this is available for individuals who are looking to strengthen their options with housing and securing a home in Worcester. So the Economic Development Office side of it, which is the realm that I typically work with, works to help encourage housing through new development or redevelopment. And one of the programs that we work with is what's called the Community Reinvestment Area Program. In this program, we are able to extend real estate tax abatements to homes that are built within Worcester's, that are reconstructed within Worcester's historic area. And so these would be homes where there would be an extensive remodeling, say if a new garage was added, or it was a major project involving new windows, siding, roofing, and a room expansion. All of that together might result in a tax increase. And what the CRA program does is it helps to limit that. It actually works to exempt new taxes on that improvement for a period of 10 years, or in some cases 12 if you're building in the C4 district. That gives the homeowner a chance to save some of their initial investment and to save that over time. We also have what's called CHIP, which is the Community Housing Impact Preservation Program. That's made available through the state of Ohio and through federal funds. And that provides resources for low to moderate income individuals or landlords serving low to moderate income households in order to help make repairs or rehabilitations on existing homes. And just to share a little bit more, you can find more information out on the City of Worcester's website at worceroh.com/development. But to just talk a little bit about the CRA program, and this also extends to duplexes. Homeowners essentially are able to save $400 annually for every $20,000 worth of investment made in the home. So if you have a house that was $20,000, the annual tax on that would be about $400. And it doesn't have to be 20,000. It can be as little as 2,500. It can be substantially more than 20,000. But the CRA program, again, is there to help homeowners get a little bit of breathing room after a major rehabilitation, financially speaking, in order to recoup their costs. It's a very simple application. You're able to make that application on the City of Worcester's Viewpoint website, which is our clearinghouse for all permits. And you're welcome to give us a phone call if you ever have any questions on that. Best way to reach us, again, 330-263-520. Our next project here is the CHIP program. This is a program that we rely heavily on the Wayne Metropolitan Housing Authority to help manage for us. They do an amazing job with it, and they actually run it for the entire Wayne County area. The City of Worcester works with Wayne County, the cities of Oroville, and also Rittman every 2 years to secure this funding. And it's federal funds that are made available to help individuals who either own their homes or are looking to purchase a new home or rent a house to someone who is low to moderate income with making repairs. Some of our projects include things as simple as fixing a broken water line that in that situation, the homeowner does not have the financial means to fix that. Those are things that this program can address, holes in roofs, or major home rehabilitations that might be needed. So we still have some funding available for this program, and we do have applications open with Wayne Metropolitan Housing Authority. You can see on here our larger program for entire home rehabilitation, which provides an 85% forgivable mortgage, is currently still open for applications, as well as our home repair program, which makes emergency repairs for individuals who, again, might have a smaller issue. And that being said, we also have a homeownership assistance program that if you are looking to purchase a new home, but that home needs some repair and your family is lower to moderate income and maybe having some issues coming up with the down payment, the CHIP does provide a home ownership assistance component, and that's basically where a loan is provided to the homeowner to pay for their down payment, and 85% of that is forgiven. The other 15% is made payable back to the City of Worcester or Wayne County after the homeowner would sell the home, whether that's 5 years down the road or if that would be another 20 or 30 years down the road. And then those funds are reinvested back into the program to help someone else. So we'll just end by sharing that we have more information available on our Fair Housing website. And again, worceroh.com/fair-housing. We have information specifically not only on the resources we spoke about, but landlord tenant services, property maintenance. We do get questions about tenants who want to not pay their rent because landlords are refusing to make repairs. There is a legal way to do that. It's called the tenant it's called placing rent into escrow with the Wayne County courts. But there is a detailed process that needs to be followed. The landlord needs to be provided written notice first to make those repairs and be provided adequate time to make those repairs. So we have some information on our website on how you can do that as well. Actually, a very simple letter template that we took courtesy of the Cincinnati Bar Association. Thank you, Cincinnati. where you can simply list your name and the issues that need to be repaired and providing that to the landlord. That's a helpful tool if that's something that is of interest. We have the analysis on impediments that we talked about earlier, and we also have the Ohio Attorney General's Guide for Landlords, which provides a lot of good information on how landlords can protect themselves and also how they can ensure that they're staying compliant with local laws. When it comes to fair housing, one of the other considerations that we hear is that, well, fair housing only applies to commercial projects, or fair housing only applies to apartments with 4 or more units. There are certain federal exceptions, but in the state of Ohio, Ohio fair housing law applies to any individual unit that is made available for rent. So if you are renting a portion of your own home, if you are renting only 1 unit, you do fall under fair housing law under the state of Ohio, which is a little bit stronger than the federal protections that are out there. There's also information on emotional support animals and information on how to get help with mold and pest issues and how to handle that. And then we also have fair housing training materials, as well as this presentation available there as well. So I'll just end by saying thank you for reaching out to us. I did want to mention we are live on Facebook with this right now. We don't have any viewers at the moment, and that's okay. But when you are coming back to view, if you do have any questions or comments, you are welcome to reach out to either Carla or myself at the information we provided here. And we would be very happy to speak with you and help answer any questions that you have, whether you're a landlord, again, trying to protect yourself and make sure that you're compliant, or if you're a tenant who's struggling with an issue, we are here. And again, please remember, we are not able to provide legal advice. You would want to talk to an attorney about that, but we will provide whatever information and resources we can. So I'd like to say, as always, thank you for all of your help and all of the important work that you do, either as a community member or an agency member, to help advancing our community and protecting fair housing. We hope that this program can be helpful, and we wish you a very nice day. Thank you.